Okay, remember Sunil Gavaskar saying Chiteshwar Pujara, unsung hero of this victory. There have been many heroes, and for cricket fans, it's been a remarkable day because many of us got up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. Among those who got up is Shashi Tharoor, politician, author and cricket fan, and Shishir Hattangadi, the CEO of Baroda Cricket Association and a former Mumbai captain. Who knows the inside out of the game as it's played today. Appreciate both of you joining us. Let me come to you, Dr. Tharoor, first. You know, I can call you a cricket fan, a cricket nut. We're all cricket fans in a way. What does this victory really mean for you as a cricket fan? What does it mean for the Indian cricket fan, you think?
It means so much, Rajdeep. It's been the most extraordinary result. And you know, we all remember what we felt, right? After the drubbing we got in the first test, that 36 all out, how the humiliation, all these experts and retired cricketers from America and England pronouncing our extinction, we're going to be knocked out 4-0 at the end of the series, all of that. And from there, Rahane took this team that had been drubbed, that had lost its captain and its best bat, had a star baseman injured, and were being considered by everybody as no-hopers. And he molded them to bring the best out of themselves and made winners out of a whole bunch of new players without ever raising his voice or flaunting his authority. I mean, absolutely superb leadership. And I think what's striking about this, well, there's so many things that are striking about it. One is that there are these very young guys and very inexperienced guys who were able to demonstrate that they could stand up to the best the world has to offer. And the Australian bowling attack is unquestionably the best pace attack in the world. And with Lyon, I would say the best attack altogether in the world. Second, that they did that in these incredibly adverse circumstances. When you look at the team that took the field in the first test, and you look at the team in the last test, 7 names are gone from the first test. That many injuries and absences. And yet they were able to come to this victory. They had faith in themselves, the determination, and their extraordinary team spirit. I mean, the way in which Rahane really made his team believe in themselves. I think I could see, for example, during that ceremony when he was given the trophy, how he called them all over and handed over the trophy to the most junior member of his team. That's a signal, I give you the credit, right? He makes his team stakeholders in and owners of his great triumph. And this is, to my mind, a lesson for all of us in other fields in our country, including in politics. That kind of team spirit, not all about just thumping me, but about the team as a whole working together in the collective interest. It's a tremendously proud moment as an Indian, as a cricket fan, and that to such a thrilling victory.
I'll come in a moment, Dr. Tharoor, to the links between cricket and politics beyond the boundary. But Shishir Hattangadi, you know, this Youngistan, as they are calling it, this new young cricket team, explain what it's like. You know, you are the CEO of the Baroda Cricket Association, where the likes of Hardik Pandya play. What is the defining characteristic of these young cricketers? Is it that they play without fear?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. It's fearlessness, it's self-belief, and it's a belief that, you know, you're not any way inferior to anybody. And this is the attitude of the young cricketer today. He believes that he can compete with anybody. I mean, gone are the days where you're in awe of an Australian or you know, I think a lot has to do with the exposure they've got, you know, with the India tours and, of course, the quality of first-class cricket. And more importantly, the IPL, where they rub shoulders with and against top cricketers, top coaches, and they realize that they're all speaking the same language. It's about being good on a particular day that can make all the difference. And there is a sense of fearlessness, I keep repeating. They're not worried about, they live in the moment. They don't worry about tomorrow. And I think that showed in the way they played this game. We're talking about a team that was really restricted to the bench throughout the series. Coming there, competing and showing that they're better than the Australians in their fortress tells you a lot about the character of these young Indians.
You know, these young Indians are remarkable. As A.B. de Villiers, the South African cricket great, has said, the bench strength of Indian cricket is now scary. But, you know, Shashi Tharoor, it also shows how much cricket has changed in a way from the days that we grew up watching the game, if I may say so, the 60s and 70s, when we struggled, especially overseas. this new India, if I may use the word, seems to play with fearlessness, wins in adverse situations. Would you agree with this definition of this Indian cricket team being, in a sense, representative, symbolic of a new India, an unafraid, bold India?
Well, Virat has used that phrase, and I'd like to come back to that. But before we go to the new India, let me briefly say, since I'm slightly older than you, that I really do remember 71 when we won against the mighty West Indies in the West Indies and against haughty England in England. And we can't forget 83, the World Cup in the ODIs, or 2007, the World Cup in T20s, one in England, one in South Africa. So there have been moments like this before. But what was, I think, remarkable about this were these factors. When you speak about New India, this is something where I'm totally on board with you, because rather than the kind of New India we've been hearing from the politicians, I like the New India we're getting from the cricketers. You've written a book about how democracy has produced so much of the spirit of this team. I'm terribly moved by stories like that of Mohammad Siraj, son of a rickshaw driver living in poverty. It's his cricket that enables his parents to afford a home, for his father to give up pulling a rickshaw. Then his father dies at the beginning of the tour. And the team says, you want to go back for your father's funeral? And he says, no, my father's dream was that I should play for India. I'm going to stay on and play, even though he wasn't picked for the first test. And this guy from the second test onwards goes to become the leading wicket taker for India. Or Natarajan, even more poverty in an obscure village some 300 kilometers from Chennai, growing up as a villager, short of all the comforts, color television, opportunities to watch cricket matches, nothing. And he becomes a star bowler, flies a straight in the sort of Tamil Nadu leagues, comes up to where he is, and then, of course, stars in the IPL. He's not picked for the Australian tour, but one guy who's picked, Varun Chakrabarti, manages not to be able to make it. Natarajan is picked in only for the T20s. Then he's asked to stay on as a net bowler for the test matches. He ends this tour having made his debut for India, which he wouldn't have dreamt of 3 months ago, in all three formats. And in his debut innings as a bowler for India, he takes 3 wickets. I mean, these are the kinds of stories that make you believe that aspirational young India, coming from minor towns or small villages or neglected corners of our country, has what it takes to build the future for our nation as well.
Perhaps, Dr. Tharoor, there's a lesson there for politicians, because you've got cricket builds a meritocratic India. Cricket gives young India a chance, the aspirational India that you spoke of. Maybe politics also needs to have less of lineage and dynasty and greater space for younger meritocratic India, including, dare I say, in your own Congress party.
Well, I couldn't agree more about politics in general. Let's not do any finger pointing on this occasion, but I will say that it's a lesson that you and I have already articulated in the past when Dhoni rose out of Ranchi. And I would say that what we're seeing now is that revolution rising to even greater heights. There is an India awakening. It's awakening from the places that were relatively marginalized. There was one test match, I think the third test, where each of the 11 players was from a different state. This was extraordinary. And I really see, on the second test, I think it was, the third, Rohit and Ajinkya both played. But the fact is that we're still looking at a sense where India as a whole is awakening simultaneously. It's no longer about an elite, and it's about it's really about that.
That's a good point to take to you, Shishir Hattangadi, because if you look at India's overseas wins in 1971, West Indies and England for the first time, 7 of the players came from Mumbai, and all the players came from the big cities. Now look at the players that are coming in. Shardul Thakur from Palghar, you've got Navdeep Saini from Karnal, you've got Natarajan from Salem. You've got this small town revolution. In a sense, again, you played for Mumbai, but you're CEO for Baroda. Are you seeing that the small town energies, in a way, are what is catapulting this new Indian team forward?
Absolutely, Rajdeep, and the self-belief that these small town boys have. Just last week, I saw a certain Muhammad Azharuddin from Shashi State whip the pants out of my team, Mumbai, in the Mushtaq Ali Trophy. So there's a sense of belief that, I can do it better than you. And it comes from the fact that, it's a level playing field for everybody today. Mumbai used to be the epicenter at one time where people came down there to get noticed. Today, it's no longer like that. If you're good, if you're able to deliver, you can come from any corner of a foreign field, you'll still be good and you'll be accepted. And this is the new India that, impresses me. I'm a Mumbai person, but when I see young kids coming from rural India, making a point and making a statement, it tells you that the game is spread far beyond the cities. And that is what we want. Indian cricket has to go ahead with these small town boys who are aspirational, who have the motivation to achieve more. Be it the IPL, be it a better life, I'm not bothered about that. It's about your skills, it's about your craft, and they do everything within their mind to do that.
Are you saying, Shishir, that their skill sets are of another level, or is it just their determination to succeed at all costs?
Well, cricket is their comfort zone from where they come. So when they get onto a cricket field, they're in their comfort zone because that gives them an opportunity to get away from the life that they lead. And that to me is so critical. Somebody living in Cuff Parade, getting a beautiful 50 in a Kanga League match, his father told me once, he's going to go back to an AC room. This is not his comfort zone.
No, that's not fair. You're referring to me. Look, I am a living example of the fact, Shishir Hattangadi, that dynasties don't work in cricket. My father played, he came from a small town called Madgaon. He's the only Goa-born cricketer to play for India, had no godfather at all, came at the age of 17 to Mumbai, played for India at 21. I had every facility, but I didn't have the talent. So in the end, it's all about talent. You're saying these young kids at the end of the day are imbued with both talent and a certain determination, fire in the belly, as my father would call it.
Absolute fire. I mean, this is what makes them so special. Look at all these boys who've delivered. Would they have dreamt of playing Test cricket a month ago or 2 months ago? No. But when they were up for it, when they were picked, they were really up to the mark. They were ready for it. And this has a lot to do with the exposure they've gained over the last 6 months, 1 year or 2 years. And this is common with across India, with every young cricketer who aspires to play for the country. They just know that they can get up tomorrow, get a call up, and they'll be ready for it. And this is the difference between the Indian cricketers of the past and today. They lived in hope. These guys are all waiting for their opportunity. And to tell you, this team, actually has humbled India in a sense. They've told us that, we are all ready, we are all motivated, we are all aspiring for bigger things. And Indian cricket is only going to benefit through this win. I know it's a poetic place to be speaking in front of Shashi, but as they say, I chatter as I flow into the brimming river. For this win will come and go, but this Gabba test will go on forever.
Shashi Tharoor, interestingly, since we are talking about the rise of small town India or rise of new places where cricket is big, new cricketing centers, I must point out earlier this week, your home state Kerala defeated my home state of Mumbai in a T20 competition, something which would have been considered unimaginable even a few years ago. Clearly, in a sense, the sport is throwing these new incredible talents from different parts of the country, perhaps thanks to the IPL. And maybe that is why the younger generation is built around this notion of fearlessness, of a certain fire in the belly, confident of taking on the world. In that sense, we could again learn from cricket, including in politics. Build a meritocratic India.
Well, it's a good point, and let me just add to the IPL, the A-team tours, which Rahul Dravid has been curating in the last few years. The absolute truth is that we have now developed an amazing bench strength of people who are not afraid to take on the best in the world because they've faced them as part of A-team tours and they have rubbed shoulders with them and defeated them in IPL matches. And that means that whereas, for example, a youngster making his debut for India right up to the early 90s had probably never even been on an A-team tour and was really overawed in some cases by the occasion and the opposition. What we're seeing today is a bunch of people who feel that they have every right to face the world. That's what India's got to be like on the international stage as well, politically and globally. We have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of in terms of our ability to stand in front of the world and say, whatever you can do, we can do it too, and we can do it better. Cricket feel in that sense as a metaphor for what India can be. And the unity and spirit of that team as a reminder of the unity and spirit that we need to show in our political life. I'm with you on that.
This series has had remarkable moments, from the lows of getting out for 36, our lowest score, to winning then in Melbourne, and now, of course, winning in Brisbane. I want to ask both of you, first you, Dr. Tharoor, you have any favorite moment in this wonderful series? Any moment that gives you the goosebumps? I have several such moments, but I'll ask you to go first.
Yeah, well, there are two that I've already mentioned. One is that moment when Ajinkya Rahane gave the trophy to Natarajan after calling all the players over. That said, this is about the team. To borrow Congress Party slogan, "Main nahi hum." I thought that was fabulous. Another moment was seeing those tears in Siraj's eyes when the national anthem was being played. I mean, which Indian would not have had his heart melt at that time? He was thinking of his father saying, "Desh ka shaan kar do," and his father has passed away. He's thinking of his father, the anthem is playing, and he's weeping tears. What a moment, Rajdeep. I mean, I cannot believe that there is an Indian patriot whose heart didn't beat a little harder watching that. These are the kinds of things that I think, and neither was actually a cricketing moment. They were part of the accompanying moments. The cricketing moments, there were so many.
Look, Shashi, cricket always flourishes beyond the boundary more than it does sometimes on the field. But Shishir Hattangadi, is there a moment that stands out that gives you goosebumps when you think of the wonderful series that we've encountered in the last month?
Yeah, everything emotional about what Shashi said is right. But, for me, the last day of a test series at the Gabba on a pitch that was apparently cracked up, and you had Shubham Gill, flat bat, Mitchell Stark straight out of the ground, and then play four boundaries in that over, to me made a statement that, look, we are here to win this match. And it may be the last day pitch, it may be, the best attack in the world, but we are up for it. And those four shots actually told me that India were not going to hold back. Either they'd lose the test match or they'd win it. And that's what we got. We got a great win. And historically, I think this would compare to any of the great wins India has had.
I wrote a thank you letter blog to Team India today in an article. And I contrasted how we are all feeling today, smiling away, with the last 1 year, which has been very depressing and gloomy ever since the pandemic struck because of COVID. The fact that people have been in quarantine, social distancing, people being forced to migrate from home, the depressing images, Shashi Tharoor. Maybe you need sport, and that's where I come from, in depressing times like these, that you need something cathartic, and sports is that. Sports provides joy, and it cuts across all barriers. And in that sense, perhaps, Dr. Tharoor, the timing couldn't be better. In depressing times, you need sports almost as a blessing.
The timing was wonderful in terms of having had a really lousy year behind us. From a very short-term point of view, the timing wasn't great for us in that it has rightly distracted the nation from the government's failures to deal with the farmers' agitation, the government's mismanagement of a number of other challenges we're facing, including, of course, COVID itself and the whole situation at the moment. But I won't go there now. Today is a day for celebration. It just gives one day for the government to get off the heat on leaked WhatsApp chats, on the China border and everything else. Once the celebration has sunk in, we need to hold the government accountable again.
In fact, that's probably the reason why a scheduled debate that I was going to have on farm laws in China, we'll push it to tomorrow. You can always debate politics. It's very rare that you can debate cricket. Shishir Hattangadi, I want to ask you, Joe, one final question. Virat Kohli is back as captain. Where does that leave Ajinkya Rahane? I've called him in my article the Amol Palekar in the age of Ranveer Singh. There is something about Ajinkya Rahane which is delightfully old world. Shy smile, silent, but with a steely exterior, somewhere under that very quiet, composed persona. Do you believe that Ajinkya Rahane is back to being vice captain, being in the shadow? In that sense, did we miss Virat Kohli, or do you believe this is in a way Virat's team? It's his aggression, his sense of self-belief that has now really coursed through this entire team.
Absolutely. I mean, Virat's contribution behind the scenes would have been there. Of course, he set a trend in the dressing room, he and Ravi Shastri both, that you believe in yourselves. And look, Ajinkya was a vice captain. He was a stand-in captain. He took over, he delivered. It doesn't say it doesn't tell you that Virat is not the owner of the job at the moment. So let's just welcome him back, and let's not create a controversy of should Ajinkya lead or should X lead or Y lead. The captain takes over. When the vice captain goes out, the vice captain takes over. That's why he's vice captain and he's not captain. So at the moment, let's just enjoy it rather than create a controversy about who should be leading India. The captain is Virat Kohli, and we'll go by it. Forget Amol Palekar and forget Ranveer Singh at the moment. This is about Virat Kohli, and this is about Ajinkya Rahane and Indian cricket. Okay,
the Shishir Hattangadi, message taken. At the end of the day, today is not a day for controversy. Today is a day for celebrations. Some of us got up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. It was cold, it was dark, but boy, was it worth it. It was a day that we will not forget because you felt, as I said, emotional, particularly when that winning hit was that off drive of Rishabh Pant. There's something about Rishabh Pant that gives you a feeling of a cricketer truly with an X factor. That's the shot which we all celebrated today. I was sitting in the same chair for about 6.5 hours, finally got up because it was seen as a lucky chair. Wonderful images to see today. Good to see the smiles on the face after what's been a troubling 12 months. Shishir Hattangadi and Shashi Tharoor, thanks very much for putting this in some context, a wider context. Sports beyond the boundary.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.